Namaste, welcome back to Mindful Surrender Yoga, or Waking Up in a Busy World. And once again, we're going to take another question from the jar of many questions, and we will try to answer it within 10 minutes. I want to stress that I keep trying to stress this, that I am no expert in this. I am just doing my best to learn and assimilate knowledge, not knowledge in the conceptual way, but knowledge that resonates inside me. And I do this exercise of asking questions to help me achieve that so I can get further on this road, or this little journey I'm on towards understanding truth. I know that sounds like a lot of woo-woo nonsense, but I am trying to understand life in a a deeper and more profound way. And this, I somehow believe, will help me to do that. So, questions are about to be answered. I'm going to start my timer, and I'm going to reach in. I think some of the old questions got in here too, so I'm going to pull out a question. And the question is, what is meant by the second arrow in Buddhist teaching? What is meant by the second arrow in Buddhist teaching? This is quite ironic or serendipitous that I pull out that question, as I am actually writing a book on this right now. What is the second arrow of Buddhist teaching? There is a parable or a teaching in Buddhism, a sutra, from a sutra, and I'm not sure which, because I am not Buddhist and I am not the person to be answering this question in the most deepest and sincere way, because I have only studied the Dharma at a limited amount, and I only tapped into Buddhism and its teachings a few years ago. I'm totally captivated by it. Oh my goodness, this is going to be one of those videos I'm going to want to definitely edit, but I'm not going to. I'm totally enthralled by it. There is so much wisdom in these teachings, so much practical learning, not just from the sutras, but from the practices themselves of meditation and mindfulness and mindful walking and sitting meditation, and just being with people, who I'm not, because I don't belong to a Sangha or anything like that. People who are all on the same page, walking towards the same destination of enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, so I am enthralled by Buddhist teaching, so I do know of the second arrow. And it's just let's look at it in terms of an analogy. We have pain in our lives. We go through life circumstances that are painful. They may even at some point be traumatic, and they may wound us deeply. Okay? They may cause some type of reaction in us that is extremely painful. They open us up to suffering. Now, but that pain and that original wounding and that original trauma, wherever it was that initiated the pain, it's not suffering in the sense that we know suffering. Suffering is the second arrow that goes into the same wound. So you have a wounding, you have a hurt inside you. What you do with that hurt can cause suffering or healing. Most of us are inclined to go the suffering route. We look at these painful experiences and decide that they're too painful. We do not want to experience them again. We do not want to experience the original wounding again, nor do we want to experience any type of pain like it. So we begin resisting pain. We squish this wounding and stuff it way down with suppression or repression, to the most deadly defense mechanisms, as far as I'm concerned, as far as our ability to be all that we are. So we squish that suffering or that pain down, that wounding down, and hold it down away from our conscious awareness, because it's just too painful to deal with it. We don't want to experience it. We don't want to experience it fully, especially, nor do we even want to touch the fringes of it. So we keep pushing it and repressing it and stuffing it down. Then we have this knot of pain inside us that's still activated. It's still there. It doesn't die. It doesn't go away. It's just stuffed inside. But anytime someone comes around and says something offensive to you, or you're met with another life circumstance that is similar to the one that has caused the original wounding, or you know, you spend your life trying to avoid what's happening. You get triggered. The pain gets triggered. It gets poked. It starts to bleed again. The wound starts to bleed again. It opens up. It festers. You feel the pain again from these experiences. So you try to avoid those experiences that cause the triggering. So not only avoiding the wounding and the pain of the original wounding, you're avoiding anything that you come to believe. The mind is there to protect you, so the mind's trying to tell you, this will cause the pain, this will trigger it, this will do this, will do that. So you tend to avoid all those life circumstances, what we would refer to as the unpleasant experiences of life, the painful experiences of life. We try to avoid, run, stuff, numb from pain. And that is the second arrow you put into your wound. It is this resistance of healing, the resistance of allowing that wound to heal by allowing it to go through all the painful process that healing requires, right? When we avoid that, we avoid pain, we avoid life. 10,000 joys, 10,000 sorrows, the Tao says, right? So when you avoid the 10,000 sorrows, you're actually going to hinder the experience of 10,000 joys, because to live fully, we need both the joy and the suffering and the pain, the painful and the joyful experiences of life. Now, we do not have to have suffering every time we experience pain. We can allow pain to do what all experiences in life are meant to do, flow through us and be gone, to let them go. But by stuffing and repressing, what we're actually doing in our desire to avoid and run from is cling to and become attached to the pain in an unhealthy way. It's still inside us. We want to avoid triggering it, knocking it, poking it. So we tend to avoid any experience out there that may cause what we feel like a second arrow into the wound. Because you know the first wound hurt when you got an arrow in one wound, and then someone comes along and sticks an arrow in the same wound. Pretty painful, right? But the mind is actually the thing that's putting the second arrow into the wound, with our resistance of this original wounding, with our resistance to dealing with it. In trauma, this is very common phenomenon in trauma, is that we stuff away the pain. People sometimes don't even remember their traumas, but all of a sudden they're getting all these fear and anxiety reactions, and they're experiencing, flashbacks or whatever, and then they remember the trauma that caused the pain. But in their deep, deep need at the time of experiencing pain to suppress and repress this pain, they tend to block out memories as well. And the pain is still inside them, activated, coming out here and there, triggered by things they're not even aware are triggers, until they actually turn around and face the original wounding, take the first arrow out. So we are sticking second arrows into a wound without actually removing the first arrow that had caused the original wounding. And the only way we can do that is by turning around and looking at our original pain, looking at the original source of pain, getting to the roots of suffering, the Buddhists would call it, getting to our need to become attached and cling, and to push away that which is unpleasant in our experience. So I believe that the second arrow is our mind and our resistance to pain, resistance to half of what life has to offer us. And our original, the first arrow is that original wounding that most of us will experience at some point in our lives, the original experience of pain on our psyches. And in order to heal, we need to stop sticking second arrows into that original wound. We need to then gently remove the first arrow by turning around and facing our original pain and understanding the roots of pain, where they come from, looking deeply into it, recognizing that we have original wounding, accepting it, allowing it, looking deeply into it to understand where it came from, understand wounding and pain in general, not just in the personal self, but the universal sense. And then nurture the pain, yes, nurture that pain and that wounding so that it can flow through you freely. And nurture yourself while you do this healing. And for many of us, we may need some help from specialists and experts to guide us in this turning around to face the original trauma or the original pain. But that's my take on the first and second arrow, and I'm going to ask you to talk to someone who knows more than I do about this particular sutra, or this snippet of a sutra where this came from, and get a better understanding of it. This is a part of it that sticks in me, and that's what I give to you during these exercises. Well, I hope that helps. That's all I have to say. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste.